Probing a part on a machine reduces setup time by eliminating the need to indicate a part. Let's explore how to utilize probing inside Mazatrol and EI programs. Let's get started on today's Mazak Minute. Hi, I'm Mike Zillich, part of the HEH technical team. On today's Mazak Minute, we're going to go over probing on a Mazak machine. Let's get started. So probing a part on a Mazak machine, we have the ability to, in Mazatrol, probe surfaces, diameters, bosses, and update the WPC. WPC stands for Workpiece Coordinate. Other features that we have on our machine with the Renishaw probe is Renishaw's Inspection Plus software. That gives us the ability not only to update work offsets or WPCs, but it allows us to measure bores, bosses, or surface to surface and update both the tool offset lengths as well as diameter compensation. Let's get started. Here we go. So in a Mazatrol program, if you look at the screen, you're going to see that we can update a WPC. And down here, you're going to see on the screen, you're going to have your WPC. Right below it, you're going to have a unit that says WPC, or excuse me, MMS. MMS stands for Mazak Measuring System. I typically like to do my measuring cycles in 2 units. I'll do the Z offset first, or the Z face first. That way it's updated before I go on to doing either the bore or boss or surface edges. EIA programs, you're seeing on the left side of the screen there, that is a G-code program with Inspection Plus codes. You'll see that we use a lot of macro programming, G65, and then the P 9810, 9811, 12, 14. A lot of those are cycles used by Renishaw. And one of the benefits of the Inspection Plus software is that 9810 software, that will actually, as I go into position, coming to the part, if the probe tip comes in between the part and where it started from, it would stop the machine. It's actually on that position move, it's in what we call a G31 skip mode. What we can do with that EIA program there is you're seeing on the right side of the screen, you're seeing the work offsets. We can update G54 through G59. Earlier I spoke about updating the tool data or the tool offsets. On the left side of the screen is the Inspection Plus program. And if you come down here to the milled face right here, you're seeing a G65 P9811 T5 Z minus 0.0625. So I'm measuring a surface that is 5/8 below my work offset. And what that will do, if it is not correct, it will update tool 5. Further down, you're going to see where it says probe 1.5 bore. There you're seeing a G65 P9814 D 1.5 with a T5. In that case, we're measuring a bore, and it's going to update the tool radius or tool comp so that it will give me the next, or next part it will machine to size. You can also put some logic in your programs that if you wanted to, you could have it go back and do a recut. That way you're testing the part, sizing it, and then go in for the final cut. So in a Mazatrol program, when you start on a blank unit, you're going to see that you're going to be looking for the soft key that says MMS, Mazak Measuring System. From there, you're going to enter in the name of the tool. You'll see how it says tool sensor. And then Mazak, normally with the machines, you'll get a 6mm stylus tip. So basically 6 millimeters is 0.236. We round it up because our nominal size is 2 places to the right of the decimal. Down below, once you enter that information in, you'll come to the pattern. The pattern you're going to see on the next screen are the different features that we have to offer inside the Mazatrol. So part of those patterns, starting from the first set of soft keys, I can measure an X face, Y face, Z face. I can measure the inside of a groove, find the center line of the groove, and have a known value to set a WPC. You can do that as Y-axis as well. And then think of a reverse of a groove. I'm going to have a step, or think of it as almost like a raised key. That raised key, I can measure both sides. The probe would raise up, clear the surface, and go over to the other side. You're going to come over to the right side of the screen if you wanted to get to the other menu selections, and you're going to press what I call the triple arrow key. That triple arrow key will give me the next set of menu selections, and that's where I can do the XY bore, XY boss, and we can also, in Mazatrol, we can pick up 2 edges. I'll take 2 points on the bottom face, maybe 1 on the side, and from there it's going to find the corner as well as tell me what the angle of the part is off by, and it will update it to the WPC theta. If when you're on the MMS screen and you go to, if you're on a smooth control, if you go to the help menu at the question mark at the top of the screen, you'll get this pull down. I believe if you're on the EZ machine or some of our older controls, if you hit the far right arrow key, there will be a soft key that says help. Looking at the pictures, you can see how with the face, I can do the XYZ. You're seeing what a picture of a groove looks like. Again, I can do that both in X and Y. The step, you can see it's raised. Sometimes I might use step if I have a part in a vise, and maybe across the X-axis I want to find the center line of the part. I can do the bore, I can do the boss, and again, a boss is a raised cylinder, and the probe will raise up, go over to the other side, and come back down to the Z position to take the hit. And finally, they call it inclination here on the help screen, but that is that corner theta. So recap, I have a slide here with the picture. Like I said earlier, if we look at unit 3 right here, we go across and you're going to see MMS tool sensor 0.24. I have in my pattern a Z face. I move my X-axis over to -3, Y to 0, and the Z-axis, I'm starting 0.5 above the part. Normally I like to be, you'll see here I'm actually going to, further down in the program, I'm going to be facing off 100 thousandths. So if you look over to the right, you see that I have 0.1 in there. So I'm saying when I probe that surface, it's going to be set 100 thousandths above my part. Getting back to the Z, the probe normally has a stroke of 800 thousandths. So I like to split that up, and that's why you'll see that from my Z to my R value, you'll see that 400 thousandths difference. Again, I like to have the Z face by itself in a separate unit. That way, before I go on to the next unit, it will update the WPC and apply that to my surfaces for clearances. When I come down here and do this time, you can see I'm doing a Y face. I'm coming across the backside of the part. You can see I'm at X0, Y minus 2.4. And now you can see that the Z surface is a ½ inch below. And when I touch the surface, I'm going to have that surface be -2. So basically what I was looking at is I was probing a part that was 4 inches wide in the Y-axis. Finally, I'm going to show the X step. My XWPC center line is going to be in the center of the part. I'm shifting over Y -1, and I'm going to be measuring down -0.5. And the width of the part, if I come over here to the DL I got 6 inches, and the K value is going to add 400 thousandths per side to start at. From there, we're going to probe the parts, and it will go into the face machining. So one other feature I haven't talked about on the units is maybe the first part you want to probe, but then for every other part you don't want to probe, but you have maybe stops on the part. What I can do is I can come over here to what we have, this U skip. I can put a 1 in there, and that will skip the probing operation and not do that for the remaining parts. Next thing we're going to get into is we'll start talking about inside the Mazatrol program. Sometimes I'll use Renishaw's Inspection Plus routines. Again, that gives me the ability to do multiple measurements on features, check sizes. But if I'm updating a work offset or updating the WPC from the subprogram call, the biggest thing I want to tell you guys is that before you hit the subprogram call, or before I enter in the program number, I go to subprogram call, and I'm going to highlight the measure macro. That measure macro will update the WPC and apply it right away. When I come down to the subprogram, you're going to see here how I entered a program number. In the smooth controls, I do have the ability to have alpha characters. So here you can see I'm calling up probe 3. And you can see when I have the measure macro highlighted, you can see how the work number is in yellow. If I did not use the measure macro, it would remain white. So let's talk a little bit now about the Renishaw software and what they have to offer for our Mazak machines. When you purchase a Renishaw probe with the Mazak, you'll get the Renishaw Inspection Plus software. That's those built-in macros I spoke about earlier, those 9800 series where I can do that 9810, 11, 12, 14. That gives me the ability to measure certain features. As an option, you're going to see that I'm going to be demonstrating later. We have a graphical user interface for our smooth G, X, and AI control. There it's going to have pictures of icons that I'm going to answer questions in like a window format. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to create a program for me, or I can do what we call a single cycle and measure one feature just by bringing it over to the surface, single cycle the operation, and it would give me the values. I spoke earlier about the Smooth G, X, and AI, but on the Smooth EZ control, on our VC EZ and our Quick Turn EZs, we also do have a tablet option where you can get the Smooth Set and Inspect on that. And then finally, if you don't have the Smooth Set and Inspect, Renishaw also has a feature called GoProbe. You can download on your iPhone or your Android phone. There's an app called GoProbe. You're going to go ahead and almost through different window selections, it's going to give us at the very end a code to type in MDI. So I can move it to position and then type in that MDI and cycle start. So Smooth Set and Inspect, what you're going to see is on the control, you're going to see across the screen a lot of features very similar to what we did in Mazatrol. Here I have a single surface, I have a bore, a boss, a pocket, a web, and a web is basically that raised key that I was talking about. In Mazatrol we called it a step. Features that I don't have in Mazatrol is I can actually do a corner internal, corner external. I can measure a line, and one of the really nice features I like is I can do a 5-point rectangle internal, 5-point rectangle external. And there's sometimes in Mazatrol, I can only, when I probe a bore, I can only probe in the 90-degree quadrants, and I have to hit 4 places. Well, with Inspection Plus, I can do 3-point bores and 3-point bosses. I can actually go into a slot that I have a curved surface, 180-degree surface. I can actually probe that arc and come up with the center line of that arc. And finally, they have rotary axis updates. Like on the HCN 4000 behind me, we use that for our B-axis. When you're setting up your part again, I don't have to indicate the tombstone in. I can actually come in with the probe and touch a surface across in the x-axis, and it will give me the angle, what it's off by, and either update the WPC or the work offset. And then finally, I was talking about the GoProbe app on the cell phone. This is where if you look at the left picture, you're seeing a lot of the same icons that we had on the control with the smooth set and inspect. And you're going to go over, it's going to have me type in the diameter. It's going to tell me what work offset do I want to update. And then finally on the right screen, you're going to get a G65 P9901 and some arguments, which are the alpha characters, and some values. Once I type that in and go to the machine control, cycle start, it will do that same feature, but it is just a one and done with the GoProbe app. So what I'd like to do next is, let's go, instead of going through PowerPoints the whole time, I like to show examples on the control. And here what you're seeing is across the top, I have my carbon steel 2 inches. I'm programming the machine behind me, the horizontal. I have a WPC number. And here the WPC, you're seeing how the X, Y, and Z values, they're internal to the program. Where if I choose to use the work offset, that would be G54 through 59. I can put that over here in the add WPC, and then these values would be blank. Coming down below here, I'm going to come down and hit Program Edit. And now you're seeing some of the soft keys that I was talking about earlier. Here is the MMS soft key. You're going to have your tool, your nominal size, the 0.24. And I'm going to park this keyboard. I'm going to come over here to the U skip. And if I look down below here by my prompt box, you're seeing where it says measure. It says yes, :0, no, or N for no, put a 1. Down below you get the MMS, and then the face machining operation below it. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to do one of these features by scratch. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go ahead and insert in a unit. I'm going to say shape end, and now you get to the feel of how I go about doing it. I'm going to come over here to Mazak, or the Mazak measuring system, MMS. If I don't recall the nominal size, I can come over here to tool data window. I can select that tool, say OK, and that will populate the size. The number is for the priority if you decide to prioritize your number. U skip, again, if I want to measure or not measure. And I come down to the pattern. The pattern here, we're going to have X, Y, Z face. If I hit my triple arrow key, I come over to the XY bore, XY boss, XY theta corner. And then the one I didn't talk about right here, we also have how I go about calibrating the probe itself. So if I wanted to do the Z face, I'm going to come over here to Z face, and I'm going to give it my dimensions. I think I had a -3 in there. Y is 0, Z a 0.5, ½ inch above. Because this has a B axis, I'm going to have it at 0. And the R value, once I touch the face, I'm going to make it 100 thousandths. I'm going to come over to my next program. I'm going to come over here to Program, Work Number, and now I have an example, and that example is called Probe 2. That Probe 2 is going to call up a Renishaw cycle. So you can see I have the WPC. I come down and let's do a whole new one. Let's go Program Edit here. I'm going to hit Enter, Sequence End. Let's go ahead and call up a subprogram. So I'm going to come over here to the soft key that says Other. And then there's going to be a soft key called Subprogram. Now I refer to the Measure macro. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that key. And now I can come over here. I can go to my program file. If your program names are a little bit lengthy, save on selecting the number. I can go ahead and highlight it, press Input, and notice how it says Probe 3. I'm going to go back to it now, just so you can see how that, if I don't have Measure macro highlighted, if I go ahead and select that same program number, it's going to come out in white lettering. Okay? Notice how you can look at the two different programs here. The upper one is going to update the WPC and apply it right away, where the other one, the one in white, would update the WPC, but it wouldn't activate it until you cycle the program the next time. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to Inspection or a Smooth Set and Inspect. And what I'd like to show you here is, let's see how that works on the machine control. So a lot of times, because I like to repeat my operations, I'm going to come over here to Program Builder. I'm going to give it a new program, and I'm going to give it a name. And I'll come in here and I'll give it Mike 4, or better yet, let's do this. We're going to say Mazak Minute. And the one thing with the program numbers, they cannot have spaces, but I can put a hyphen in there. We're going to come down here. With the Renishaw's software, we can either measure with the part probe in the spindle, or you'll see that you can also have that set up if you have the TS27R probe from Renishaw, the tool setter. You can actually program that as well. Next question is going to be is what work offset will I be working with? I'm going to hit the lower arrow. I have my pull down, so I got G54 through G59. You also have G54.1, and they'll give you another selection for P1 through P300. But if I'm doing it in a Mazatrol program, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll use that Use Active. So that way it will go back to the previous, the Mazatrol, and it'll update the WPC. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. For instance, here I'm going to say Use Active. And the retract, if I click on here, you're going to see it's going to give you a little picture. It's going to say, hey, how far do I want to move back the probe to go on to the next operation? In this case, I'm going to put 2 inches in there. Let's go ahead and hit Next on the lower right. And I'm going to classify this. You have 2 choices. I can do this as a main program or a subprogram. I'm going to be using it as a subprogram, so that way I'm going to be calling it up just like we did the Probe 3 from the Mazak machine. The probe program end position, I'm going to do a spindle reference, and that basically takes my Z-axis all the way home to Z0. I'm going to hit Next, and you can see it's starting to form tiles that have the operations. And I'm going to come over here, I'm going to do a plus, I'm going to do a measured cycle, I'm going to do a single surface. Single surface, I can give it a name here, I can say Z-axis. I'm going to measure direction, okay? And again, you can look at the pictures here. Notice if I'm, right now it says X plus. You see the probe coming from the left side of the part, going in the positive direction in X. If I move to the other directions, here's X minus. And in my case, I want to do the Z face first. So I'm going to come over here and do Z minus. And I'm going to do my position. And I'm going to start 100 thousandths above the part. My X is, I think I said minus 3 inches. Or actually, let's go -1 even. That way I know for sure I'm on the part. Now I can see I made a mistake. You see how it's in red? If I look there, I have a double negative and a double decimal. So now I'm going to come back here, fix it, -1. And you can see how the red goes away. The Y, I'm going to start out at 0. Z point, the Z start position, I think I got these mixed up here. This is going to be the 0.1 above here, but the Z surface position, this one here is going to, or actually I'm back up here again, sorry about this. Yes, my measured surface is 0.1, and down here on the start position, I'm going to be starting at 0.5. Okay, there's a pull down for update. What do I want to update? I'm going to come over to here, and I can either update none, and that would be like if I want to measure just a bore or a Z face. In this case, it would just be the Z face. Or if I want to set the WPC, I would do the work offset. If I want to update the tool data or the tool offset, I would select tool offset. So in my case here, I'm going to come here to work offset. It's going to let me select which one I want to update. And you can see in my pull downs, I have the WPC. And I'm going to hit plus. And finally, I'm going to do yet a bore. I'm going to hit plus. I'm going to come over here to measure cycle. I'm going to go to bore. So I can enter in a cycle name. I can come in here and I'm going to say 1.5 bore. The X feature position, I'm going to say maybe is X0, Y0. The Z start point, I'm going to be a ½ inch into the hole. And the diameter is 1.5. And maybe this time I'm just going to do a measurement and I'm going to say none for now. I'm going to come over here, hit my plus sign. And what you're going to see here is I have a program. Okay. When I want to review the program before I send it to the machine, I can come over here and I'm going to hit this less than divided by greater than symbol right here. And the nice thing is that's going to give me a picture of the actual program, those macros that I was talking about. The first one where we were going to measure the Z face, you're seeing right here on the bottom of that green square, you're seeing G65 P9811 S7 Z0.1. The S7 stands for basically the WPC. You can have S1 through S6 for G54 through 59. And with the new version of the Inspection Plus, you can actually even have S54, S55. If you're doing 54.1, what you'll see is that S number then becomes, I believe, 101 to, I believe, 400. From there, I can save the program if I'd like. Okay, right now it's got that name, Mazak Minute. I can generate the code, and if the software were on the machine, it would put the program into the program file so that I can run it right off the get-go. But if I generate it, you can see you'll get a pop-up saying program generated. Program has been successfully created. Thanks for watching today's Mazak Minute. We hope you found this video informative. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episode. See you next time on the Mazak Minute.